Hey everyone, it's Kevin with Better Bible Reading, and today I have a Bible review video that I wanted to share with you. What I believe to be a very helpful resource for those of you who are interested in reading the Old Testament in the original Hebrew language. So, this Bible, unlike all of the other book reviews that I've done for various kinds of Bibles thus far on the channel, this is not, you should be aware of this, this is not an English Bible. This is the Hebrew Old Testament Reader's Edition published by Crossway. Now, what this means is that what you have before you is the Hebrew Old Testament. It is a reader's edition in that you will have interpretive helps and lexical aids on the bottom portion of the page for vocabulary words, in particular verb forms that are not very common or occur less than X amount of times. And that's the idea behind a reader's Bible. So why is it that I have this particular reader's Old Testament in the original Hebrew? Well, as I'm in seminary currently, and the Old Testament is an area of a high level of interest. For me, I have worked my way through 2 years of Hebrew language studies, 4 semesters, and a summer reading course as well, for what it's worth. And that means that I am certainly not built myself up to a level of fluency by any stretch of the imagination, but it does mean that having had all of that under my belt, having had to translate sections of the Old Testament and really enjoying being in the Hebrew Old Testament as a whole, it means that I am able to, in some ways, stumble my way along, but in other ways, I'm able to competently work my way through the Old Testament. And the only way that you can do that in studying any original language and kind of build yourself by achieving different thresholds of competency is to rinse and repeat, is to actually do it and continue to do it. And so I have this not only because of my language studies in school, but I have it as a way to allow myself to keep working through the Hebrew Old Testament. Now, from a point of view, for those of you who are in undergraduate biblical studies and maybe you're interacting with Hebrew to some extent, or if you're in seminary or thinking about going to seminary and you're wondering, should I get this or should I get this? This is the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia Reader's Edition, and this is considered kind of the scholarly default Hebrew Bible that you should get. Now, I have no axe to grind against the BHS. I use it on the regular. I do have an axe to grind, however, with the layout of it at times. And that's really what makes this Crossway Hebrew Old Testament Reader's Edition shine. Now, I'm going to have. All right, so just for the sake of a quick comparison here, we're in Jeremiah chapter 7, and this is the very end of verse 8. And you can see, we'll start right here. Now, this is the Crossway Hebrew Reader's Bible. And you can see, let's just start right here. Divrei Hasheker Levilti Ho'il. And that word right there, Ho'il, you can see that footnote right there is number 1. Now, you might be looking at that and you're saying, I don't know what that is. It looks like with that Hirak Yod, maybe it's a Hifil, but I'm not sure. So you'll look at that number 1, and then you'll move your way down to the bottom of the page, and it does in fact say that the lexical form is Yod, Ayin, Lamed, and it is a verb. It is a Hifil. It's an infinitive construct, and it means to profit or do good. Now, there's all your information right there on the bottom, and you can just keep on reading. Now, by way of contrast, the way that we'd have to get there with the Biblia Hebraica Reader's Edition involves more work. And it's not a whole lot more work, but it is more work nonetheless. So we'll go right here, and you can see the same as we just read, Divrei, Hashaker, Labilti, O'il. Now, same kind of thing we get, instead of a footnote, we get an A. So in the Crossway version, they use numbers, and it's just sequential 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. In this one, we get letters, we get an A. And my problem with that is that as you look at this bottom, whereas in the Crossway version, since it's 1, 2, 3, etc., there's no question of where you're looking at. But here you have these numbers, which these correlate to the verses that are on the page, but it just starts over with every verse beginning with A. So you have A here, A here, A here, A here, on you go. And sometimes even like right here, if there's only a little bit, it's just back to back, A for verse 8, A for verse 9. And that can get really confusing. So when you're looking at this, you need to make sure you know what verse you're in. So this is, even though it's right next to verse 9, don't be mistaken and think that this A goes with verse 9. This is the very end of verse 8. So we actually need to go to this 8, verse 8, and then you get the lexical form just like we saw in the Crossway version, Yod, Ayin, Lamed, and their gloss is a little bit different, but this is about the same. To profit or do good was the gloss in the Crossway edition. This says to be of use or benefit. That's fine. Both of those are within the range. But the problem is, you're looking at this, and we are not told that it is a Hifil infinitive construct like we saw in the Crossway edition. Instead, we're told that this is H65. Now, what is H65, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we have to do more detective work. We have to get out our handy dandy parsing code bookmark thing, and we have to look at it and look for H. So we stop when we get to H, H, H. There it is. So again, going back to the page, H65. So that H, we now know, is a Hifil, but we still have to figure out what 65 is. And so you want to look, and you're going to scan all over here, stop when you find it, boom, there it is, and it says infinitive construct. So put it all together, H65 means it's a Hifil infinitive construct, and now we know what H65 means, and now we can keep reading. But you see, it's a lot of extra steps that you just don't have to deal with when you're using this one here instead of this one here. Again, no personal beef with this. I just think that to be a Reader's Edition Bible, you want it to be set up the way that this one is set up. But what I just really appreciate about the layout of this is that all of your translation helps are just there on the bottom, and they're identified very well. You get a nice little gloss of these terms. And sadly, it is just not that user friendly when you're using the VHS by contrast. In all honesty, I just don't know why this Bible does its reader's edition this way. It is quite frustrating, and it's very unnecessary. Maybe there's a reason that I just don't know, but for my money and for what it's worth, I say for my money, I should note that I did get this for free in exchange for an honest review. But this is my truth be told honest review. And for my money, as I'll say that yet again. This is the best Hebrew Old Testament Reader's Edition that I've ever laid my hands on. You do get some other helps, like the text is black, but for proper nouns, it's a grayish cover. And so you might be looking at a word like Mitzrayim, and you're wondering, why am I having a hard time parsing that? Is that a mem preposition on the front of it? What is that? Then you're like, oh, it's gray. Oh, yeah, it's a proper noun. Oh, Egypt. And then you're brought back to your elementary um, memorization vocab, and there you have it. So, just a lot of helpful things in this. And so, if you're interested, you've been working your way through the Hebrew Old Testament, whether it be language courses, whether it be trying to watch videos to start to get some kind of acquisition of the language, and you want something hard copy you can hold, you can use, but you need those lexical aids because you are not a master of all of the vocab, then you need to get a reader's edition. And in my opinion, you should make use of this Crossway Hebrew Old Testament Reader's Edition, published, just so you know, this is not all that old of a thing. This was published back in 2020. So this resource from Crossway, the only Hebrew Bible resource that I know of besides like a multi-column interlinear type thing, this is like the first thing that they have put out. They have many other things for Greek, which I hope to review in the near future. But as somebody that's partial to Old Testament studies, I'm so thankful that in the last 5 years, Crossway has put this out to have a reader's Bible on the market, and one that is quite accessible and easy to use. And I've really enjoyed it so far. So thanks for watching. I hope that you're intrigued with this. And if you're especially intrigued with the Old Testament, that you'll go and get a copy. I don't get any kind of compensation or kickback for it. This is just my honest review and something that I would want to commend for an addition to your own personal library. The Hebrew Old Testament Reader's Edition, published by Crossway. Well, thanks for watching. Hope this has been interesting to you. And I'll see you on another episode real soon. But until then, take care.